Good morning, good evening, good day, whenever it is.
Wherever you are.
We're happy you're listening to the extended Gamut Podcast. Episode 8. We're excited.
We're wearing short sleeves.
Short sleeves. It is not warm in Chicago right now, where we're filming from.
Nope.
But we're going for it. Short sleeves. We got Would You Rathers. We have hypotheticals. We even threw in some questions you asked that we don't know the answer, and we're going to see how each other will actually answer really difficult questions that we don't even know. So if that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. All right, here we are, episode 8.
Are we going to get right down to business, or you got something?
We're approaching the end of the year. We've gotten through Thanksgiving. So we're done with thankfulness and we're moving on to give me, this is what I want. It better be under the tree.
Yeah. All the worst of human emotion.
I don't know how your children handle this sort of thing, but when I tell them to make a list, they basically pick something they're interested in. So let's just say it's a unicorn. My daughter will then somehow get onto Amazon and she will find 50 to 100 things that are unicorn related, and she will have a list, 2 columns, and she's like, oh, here's my list. And it's like, it's all unicorn, but it's like unicorn headphones, unicorn journal, unicorn socks. And you're like, they can come up with a list. An adult, my wife says, hey, Grandma Myra wants you to give her your Christmas list, and you're like, I can't think of one thing to give Grandma Myra.
Yeah, if you want any help, maybe give me Grandma Myra's number.
Yeah,
I got some ideas.
That's why dads all get ties. No one knows what to do.
It's true.
No, you don't have any of these problems.
My kids were just asking to use the phone so that they could go through Amazon and think of things to put on their list. It's like, well, this isn't how a list works, guys. If you don't actually want it, you don't have to force yourself to put something on this list.
Yeah. Well, this sort of ties into our first question. You have $50,000, but you have to buy printers. Not just any printers. You're running a T-shirt printing business, and you can either buy one of the Epson F30s, that's their industrial T-shirt printer, or you can buy 3 of the Epson F2100, which are like $15,000 printers. So it's one $50,000 printer. Let's say they're both equal $50,000. Do you buy one or do you buy 3? What's on your Christmas list and why?
I like it. Good segue. It's like professional.
Thanks.
That's a good question. So I think it depends on your business and what you're trying to do, but like it's the trade-off of lower costs, ink costs with the F30.
Okay.
So you put that in the column. So put that in the column for the F30.
Yeah, let me make a couple of columns. I'll cross off all the unicorn things. F30, ink. Good. Okay. For you at home, taking notes?
F2100, redundancy. So you've got 3 of them. So now you've got some redundancy.
I've never taken notes on the podcast. This is
good.
What I'm going to do when I get done with this. F2100, redundancy. What about speed? So on average, you have what, 20 shirts an hour on a F2100?
Yep.
60 shirts an hour, F30, but there's some...
Yeah, so if you're printing all white shirts on your F2100, you're doing it in a single pass. So one of the major benefits of the F30 is that you are doing single pass printing with color and white. So your white layer is going down and your color layer. So if you're printing dark shirts, you're going to get a lot more benefit out of a single pass on the F3070, when on the F2100, you would also be able to run light shirts in a single pass. So that's another consideration.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you look at dark shirts, you'd be at between 55 and 60 dark shirts an hour with the F3070, which is really fast. And with the F2100, you're going to be at 20 shirts, maybe even a little less.
Okay.
So, and then the other thing that you have to think about is the like all the cool just features that you get with the F3070. So the auto height adjustment, that's like a game changer. So if you're printing a lot of different things.
Yeah, if you print a white T-shirt and only a white T-shirt, and it's the same thing. You could start making a case for the F2100s. But if you're like throwing a hoodie on and then a really thin baby onesie and then a hat,
Yeah, just that auto, the laser detection for auto height is really cool. So, and you also have the user replaceable print heads on the F3070 that you don't have on the F2100. So I think and it's been really reliable from what we've seen too. So I would probably roll the dice, go without the redundancy of having 3 machines, because you get all these other features. Epson service is really good. With the head self-service on the print head, you're kind of in control of your own destiny. You can change that out in about a half hour. If anything else breaks, Epson will be there in 24 to 48 hours. So I would roll the dice. If I was my 50,000, I would get the F3070.
There you go. I would not. I would do the opposite.
Okay.
I would go 3 F2100s. Until I had $100,000, I wouldn't go with 1, because I live by the phrase, if you have one, you have none. Because if it goes down, I know you're going to say use a replaceable print head. Mm-hmm. I just would rather have 3 things running, and if one goes down, I'm still at 65% of something, versus that's just me.
Yeah, no. So then to counter, you could, because you're using the same ink, right? So the ink and the print quality is going to be the same between the F30 and the F2100. Same ink chemistry, different cartridge delivery system. You could stretch yourself and get a second printer. So you get an F3070 and your next printer is an F2100 when you've scraped together another $15,000, so that you have some redundancy there. So you're not totally out if you go down with the F30.
But you only have 50,000.
Right. So maybe I have to sell one of my children or free up a little cash.
Interesting. All right. But you're a used car guy. I'm a new car guy.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's a correlation there. But maybe we'll save that for a different podcast.
I don't know. The F3070, that's the shiny new toy. The F2100 is the tested, been around the track a few times.
Interesting. There's also the workflow aspect of it too, to get back to printers, right? So you have heat presses. So it depends on what you have, because if you're throwing off shirts all the time, but you don't have a conveyor tunnel to put it in, there could be a lot more issues that you're dealing with. But we tried to make a question about what to buy maybe a little more fun for the holidays. Was that fun?
No, yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah, festive, I would say.
Oh, man. Could we, you think we could top the fun?
Let me check my list.
Check your list here. What do you see?
Yep, I think we can.
Okay. So the F170, the F570, these are Epson's desktop dye sublimation printers. A competitive version of it would be dye sublimation printers from Sawgrass. So if you Google stuff, you're going to see that. And Epson is, a lot of people say Epson claims it, but it actually happens. Like the print heads don't clog as much. And someone wrote in and wanted to understand, what is it that keeps the F170 or F570 from clogging versus, say, a Sawgrass? Not to say that either printer isn't ever going to have issues at some point, but that's the question. So that's what we're going to answer.
Yeah. So I think, the biggest thing is that Epson's a print head manufacturer. So they make the heads. So they make the heads for their solvent printers, for their aqueous printers, for the dye sub printers. And as I understand it, they make them with different film layers. So the heads may look pretty similar, architecture or whatever, but the layers that they put on the surface of the print head are made to react to the ink type that they're going to have jet through it.
Wafers.
The wafers. Yeah.
I went to a wafer factory one time in Japan.
Oh, really?
I got to see these wafers being made.
Epson's wafers.
Epson's wafers. Go on.
So the wafer layers on the dye sub printer are made for the dye sub ink. So that's the short answer. They made the print head. They designed it to work with the ink that they that their chemists created and engineered.
Yeah.
So the two, when they put them together, they know the features that they needed to put into this printhead and the different coatings of the layers that they're using. So when you look back in the industry to before Epson really had a dye sub printer, they made a great printhead for aqueous photo printing. And then because the printer was so great, people thought, well, let's try putting dye sub ink through it. And they got great results, but the reliability was terrible because there was no thought to the film layers on those printheads being used with dye sub. Mm-hmm. So now that this is like an established market that Epson's a major player in, a market leader, they've buttoned all this up and they've provided a solution all the way down from their big printers all the way down to the smaller F170 and F570.
Yeah. So it's really built from the ground up. One, everything has been considered versus taking different components. And
yeah, so like Sawgrass uses Ricoh printheads. And so that's a different, I'm sure they have a strong partnership, but it's not quite the same where you have an internal team all working on towards one goal.
Okay. I don't feel like that one was as fun as the first. Would you rather?
The wafer part was, you really threw me for a loop.
Sorry, wafers. All right, you got another question here. What do we have? Okay. Someone's got a question. F170 to F570. This question was, why isn't there a product in between the F170 and the F570? So the F170 is a $400 printer. The F570 is a $2,500 printer. And how come there's not a product in between? Other manufacturers put products in between those two price points.
Got it. Yeah, so the F170 is 8.5 inch wide.
Yeah.
And the F570 is 24 inch wide.
24 inch. With roll.
With a roll. Yeah. So I think, if you zoom out and you look at the whole market, dye sublimation as like no manufacturer covers as much of the market as Epson does with all their different technologies. Because they've got a 76 inch high speed industrial dye sub printer. They've got 3 64 inch models. They've got soon to be 3 44 inch model configurations. They've got the 24 inch and they've got the 8.5 inch. So they really are trying to cover pretty much the whole market. I think the reason that there's not a printer in between is probably just the efficiency and the scale to be able to cover and provide a quality product.
Yeah.
So like they have a body style for that EcoTank size F170 printer, and they can put the heads in
like a chassis that
yeah
serves maybe other markets that you might find in big box retailers.
Right.
But it's not a dye sub printer.
Exactly. So they're able to put these purposeful print heads in and do it well at scale. So to build something that's say 17 inch to go in between these two models where it might not see a whole lot of volume in other parts of the industry, it might not make sense.
Epson's R&D is always looking at is there a significant market for this product? And by making products spaced the way they are, it could increase the market attraction to different products. A lot of times we also find that when Epson comes to market with 3 printers, the middle product usually gets ignored. It's like people either want the most expensive, highest production one, or they want the cheapest entry-level one, and usually the one in the middle gets ignored and isn't sold as much. Not that it doesn't have a point and someone can't make a valid business case for having that specific printer.
Yeah, so when you're in that middle space and you're like, oh, if I could just have a 17-inch printer, it's like annoying. But zooming out, like they've covered so much of the market in a shorter amount of time. It's been, it's 10 years, 11 years, I think now, since they had no dye sub printers to now having all these printers.
Yeah. I think it's less than 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's like our reasoning why that doesn't necessarily exactly.
Yeah, who knows
Epson is saying that's their reason why. This is the Jeff and Andy Office of Opinions.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Just scary.
We can get with Epson Legal and see if we can get a firmed up answer for you.
Perfect. You get on that. Speaking of legal topics.
Oh.
We got someone asked the question if there's actual health benefits of printing on a latex printer versus like an eco-solvent or a solvent printer. And I think some people were going back and forth on comments on some of our YouTube videos of making claims that,
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying, Andy?
Mm-hmm. I like that it's health benefits. Like if you print on latex, it's going to make, like you're going to lose weight. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like you don't have to eat a salad. Just sit around an HP latex printer, and then you can go to like Lou Malnati's for lunch. It's actually healthier than eating a salad and sitting around.
Yeah. I think what they're actually asking is like, are there... Oh, man, this is like a delicate topic.
So as I saw this, I was thinking, all right, well, there's Green Guard certification. Now, all these manufacturers, right, the Epson Eco-Solvent, HP Latex, they're getting this Green Guard certification, and that is to say you put the ink down on the surface, and then you could take that surface with that ink on it and put it on a wall, and it's going to be...
It's certified to be certain safe
Yeah.
for the environment. So, like, breathing it in, the amount of VOCs coming off of that,
organic compound.
coming off of that print, how much of an impact does it have on the people in that space?
So safe from that regard.
Yep.
I think what a lot of people don't always maybe understand is when they talk about the type of print technology, that's the compound that's carrying the ink pigment that is essentially getting burned off through the heat process as it cures. So latex would use water to carry the pigment, but it's a pigment of ink.
Mm-hmm.
And an eco-solvent printer is using a solvent, but through that heat process, it's
creating a reaction that is a chemical reaction bonding to the surface of the media.
right.
So I think like the end user of that product, I mean, through all the testing, the UL testing and they stamp it with this Green Guard Gold certification. That's all we have to go on. And they both carry that Green Guard Gold solvent and latex. I mean, even, Muto's inks, ones that we don't sell, like they've all started to get this certification.
Right.
So it's good. It's pushed the industry to like make inks that it's not the same harsh, hard solvents that were around 20 years ago.
And this is a different certification than like an Okie-Tex certification, which is used in clothing, which would be more direct to garment or those types of inks, which is a totally different ink.
Right, like safe to be on your skin.
Contact with the skin.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. What was the question even? Like, is the latex actually healthier?
Are there actual health benefits of printing latex versus solvent or eco-solvent? So it's not just Epson versus HP. There's Roland, Mamaki, Muto. I don't know that we have an actual official answer on that. We know about the Green Guard. We don't know about an actual.
I think the latex prints smell less. I think they have less odor. I think that's a big deal. I wouldn't want to be around if I got to choose which room I was in operating a printer. I would want to be in the latex room and not the solvent room.
But I've been in a dye sublimation room, and even that steam coming off has a smell that just smells different.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that means it's good or bad.
Yeah.
I know that onions stink, so I try to stay away from them at all costs. It doesn't mean they're not good for me, though.
This is so delicate because I don't know, we sell both. We don't, I don't want to tell anyone how they should feel about the environment or about their, if it's valuable to you, then.
Right. But if the government or OSHA doesn't require a ventilation system legally, you would think at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but then
and there's UV too. UV
right
has a smell.
Yep. The counter would be at one point smoking was like fine, and everyone was like, "This is great for you." Just because it's not regulated doesn't mean it's great for you.
It'd be interesting to go on a flight where they said, "All right, for this flight, you're allowed to smoke." And if a bunch of people started smoking on an airplane, like how bad would the air? Like, can you imagine like coming home, and you get home and Ashley, my wife, would say, "You smell like a pack of cigarettes." I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I was flying from Los Angeles back home. Everybody was smoking on the plane."
Yeah, those were the days.
Don Draper.
Now you could wear a mask on the plane.
With a hole for the cigarette? All right, so $50,000. Would you rather? You're buying the F30. I'm buying 3 F2100s. You somehow stole $15,000 and bought an F30 and an F2100, so I feel like that's breaking the rules.
No. I'm going to roll the dice. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll the dice for that first month, and I'm going to save, 60% on my ink, and I'm going to pocket that, and that's going to be $15,000 pretty quick, and then I'm going to buy that printer.
I'm going to ask Grandma Myra, can I have both? And see if maybe I can get both. We talked about product gaps between the F170, F570. We talked about what keeps things from clogging in terms of the print heads on dye sublimation. And then we talked about a super controversial product question that we are not qualified to answer.
Yeah. I'm working on I'm going to be a doctor in February.
In February? Mm-hmm. Of what year?
Yeah, so then we'll have a little more expertise for some of these questions coming in. So send in your medical questions.
Yeah. We had a friend that just RSVP'd to a wedding, and he put MD at the end, and the wedding party thought there was actually a doctor coming to the wedding, and neither of them knew a doctor, and found out it was this guy.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have him on the podcast.
My fear is I'm going to tell someone I'm a doctor. One, I'm going to offend a doctor that's really a doctor. That's going to get them really mad. Or someone's going to have a heart attack, and they're like, "No, you said you're a doctor. Come save this guy's life." And then I'm like...
It's like the Seinfeld. Is anyone here a marine biologist?
Yeah. So that's it for this real special holiday episode. We should have been wearing all sorts of holiday gear.
Let's restart it. The episode.
In our Christmas gear. All right, that wraps it up. Episode 8, Extended Gamut. Hopefully you learned a few things, or at least enjoyed the conversation, and it helped you pass some time. You can find us on all the usual platforms. As always, let us know if you have topics that you want us to discuss in the future. You could make comments on our YouTube channel or itsupplies.com/questions.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.